Hi, my name is Larry Coleman, and I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about my sci-fi drama, Swirl City. Now, about 9 months ago, three Wilmington, North Carolina police officers were fired when they were caught on tape talking about how they couldn't wait until there was a race war so they could set the black population back by three or four, or maybe four or five generations, I believe. And about a month after that, the NFAC, the Not Fucking Around Coalition, a heavily armed black militia group, well, they marched through Georgia's Stone Mountain State Park demanding the removal of a Confederate monument. Now, fortunately, there were no incidents of violence. But in the future, it doesn't mean that there won't be. There are many people who believe that a race war is coming. And for me, I'm a father of six children. Three of them are biracial. What if there really was a race war and my biracial children chose to fight alongside of their white mother, fight against me, fight against their brothers and sisters? So I began to think about the unthinkable. What would a race war look like and what would be the aftermath of it? What would the future look like? In Swirl City, the war begins on the heel of protest. Protesters were protesting the sitting president's current policies on immigration. And during the protest, several Latinos were gunned down by white supremacists posing as police officers. And this is what starts the war. The people of color gathered together into a group calling themselves the coalition. The white supremacists, the white majority, and people who sympathize with their cause, they formed a group called the Confederation. So it was these two um, warring groups. Now, this is the place from which our protagonists come from, out of a climate much like today. Janelle Ware is 26 years old. She is from Brooklyn. Nathan Prescott, he's 26 old. He's 26 years old, and he comes from Manhattan. You should know that Nathan's father was a former president of the United States, and Janelle's father was an old college buddy of his. Janelle's uncle was the president's chief scientific advisor. So when the shit hits the fan and the war breaks out, Janelle is whisked away to Staten Island, which is the home of Swirl City. Swirl City had been in the making for a long time upon the advice of artificial intelligence. It was created by Nathan's father and Janelle's uncle, Uncle Earl, in conjunction with the AI. But Janelle is sad about leaving her father behind. And her father stays in Brooklyn during the war because Keisha, Janelle's older sister, wants to fight. Janelle is placed in cryo along with Nathan, along with 198 other 26-year-olds to be awakened out of cryo in the future to repopulate the earth with nothing but mixed race children to avoid uh, thinking that it would just avoid race wars or issues concerning race altogether. They grow up in a perfect utopia. The only laws in Swirl City is that you can never go outside the city walls and you can never mate with anybody of the same race. One night, Nathan gets drunk. He has an affair with a woman of the same race. And it's this incidence of infidelity that causes Janelle to question her society norms. Now, Nathan, knowing that he's screwed up and he doesn't want to have Janelle reprogrammed, he agrees to take her outside the city wall so that she can see the devastation of the race wars and so, to convince her that they must continue with the status quo. So they do go outside the walls and they begin to walk through Staten Island and they are ambushed by a group of children, offsprings from the fighters of the coalition. The children end up taking Janelle and Nathan to their leader, who we come to learn is an older, much older Uncle Earl, who's in shock to really see them. Everybody was supposed to be dead, but they're not. Now, the inhabitants of Swirl cities have brain implants that suppress their memory. And so they have really no memory of their parents. But during Janelle's and Nathan's stay, she learns a little bit about her family, and now she wants to go to Brooklyn against Earl's wishes. So they take off to Brooklyn. And Brooklyn has dead spots where nothing electronic, no circuits will work there. The minute they cross over into a dead spot, their brain chips are turned off, and each of them gets flashes of their former life. But before they can do anything about it, they are knocked out, taken captive, and separated. Janelle awakes in her bedroom, back in her family's bedroom with a much older, angrier Keisha, who's still the leader of one remaining warring faction. And now Nathan has been taken captive and by Keisha's men, and they're going to have a good old cross burning with Nathan. Janelle finds out about it. She rescues Nathan with the help of her uncle Earl, and they take off back to Earl's hidden hideaway. But Keisha follows him there, along with the Confederate helicopter. And so when gunfire breaks out, Nathan takes a bullet for Keisha. They destroy the gunship, but before Nathan dies, he gives Janelle the key in an Ankh symbol around his neck, because the key can be plugged into the core computer, and it controls the holographic dome, and it controls everybody else's brain chips, and he gives her this key. And she's now the leader of Swirl City. Keisha, Earl, the children, they all go back to Swirl City. And the ending is Keisha decides not to stay because of the guilt of Nathan taking the bullet for her. Earl will stay with Keisha, or will take her back to his place. And Janelle will turn off the core computer. She will let down the holographic dome. She will turn off everybody's brain chips. And she will give them the option of leaving if they want to, because she knows that everybody should love and be with who they want to. But none of the inhabitants leave. And this is the end of the story, but with a little twist. When Janelle lets back up the holographic dome, we see a ball of light that pierces the dome. It goes into the ionosphere, up into outer space, into the home of the Watchers. And the Watchers are a group of angelic light beings who have been watching the events unfold. Now, what we learn is that the events that the Watchers have been watching is only a simulation. It is foretelling of the future about what's going to happen once they really do wake up the 200 young men and women. And this leaves it open for a sequel to find out the Watchers' plan in all of this. But that's my movie pitch for Swirl City.